Yes, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the New York Giants Report here on Chat Sports TV, and I'm your host, Nick Dais, at The Lamb Show on all social media outlets. And today, just like we were back in college, we're going to be giving out a bunch of grades for both the offense, the defense, a little bit of special teams because they're football players too, and individual player grades. Yes, 12 player grades for the New York Giants post Week 3 preseason against the Cincinnati Bengals. Remember, this is the last dress rehearsal for all NFL teams. That is Week 3 of the preseason. Let's take a look at the offense. We're going to give them a B+. The defense, as we pull up this graphic, C-. Special teams is going to get a flat-out B, and we are not curving, and we are being very strict with these grades. And we'll get right into it with the offense, the offensive side of the ball. None other than Danny Dimes. Daniel Jones, step right up, sir. We are going to give Daniel Jones a B+. 25 of 30 in the preseason. Got popped in the last game against the Bengals. But most importantly, he didn't cry, he didn't moan, and he didn't complain about getting hit. What did he do? Very next play, 27-yard pass down the sideline to Darius Slayton. Got tackled at the 1-yard line, an almost touchdown. Would have made the stat sheet look even more juicier for Daniel Jones, but he showed that he could take a hit in the NFL. It's his first legitimate hit by a guy who's a badass in the NFL, and he answered a lot of more questions. You know, he made all the throws. He's making all the throws on the run, to his left, to his right, off one foot, stepping up in the pocket, people around him. He is doing everything you want to see in a quarterback, and now he is also putting the pressure on the New York Giants organization, because they have openly come out and said Eli Manning is their guy. Daniel Jones is going to sit for the entire year. Listen, Eli Manning, you've been great, but this kid is putting the pressure on the New York Giants because Giant fans do not want to see 3rd and 7, 1-yard checkdowns to backup tight ends and running backs. So the main reason why Daniel Jones got a B+ and what kept him from an A is this is yet again another week where he can't protect the football, not through the air, but holding it. He is holding onto the ball too long, and this week he got another fumble caused, but the Giants recovered this time. Against the Bears, he had 2 fumbles. So it seems like he has to work on his ability to protect the football. 9 of 11 for 141 yards against the Cincinnati Bengals. Daniel Jones, you keep balling, sir. You're going to make me a very, very happy person, because it means we have the heir apparent to one, Eli Manning. Perfect segue. Eli Manning, we're going to give you a B-. And the reason why I'm going to give you a big B-, 4-8, nice drive against the Cincinnati Bengals. But why are you throwing blocks deep downfield? We don't need that, right? We don't need that. Unless you want to make it easier for the Giants to make a decision on Daniel Jones, and you want to get out there, knock on wood, and hurt yourself, then you shouldn't do that. Eli Manning on attempts 15 yards downfield has only made 1, and he is 0 for 1. 9 of 13 in the preseason, 6.6 yards per attempt. Daniel Jones, on the other hand, 12.3 yards per attempt, 25 of 30, like we mentioned. Passes deep downfield, which is ultimately getting the New York Giants fan base super excited. He is 5 of 7 for 157 yards. 7 times he's attempted so and got 2 touchdowns. This kid wants to air out the ball. Eli Manning seems to not want to make that crucial mistake that has haunted him his whole career. So I want you guys to weigh in the comments below. Who should, not who will, who should be the starter for the New York Giants starting Week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys? Let us know. Is it going to be Daniel Jones? Is it going to be Eli Manning? Don't you dare say Alex Tanney. Don't you dare say Alex Tanney, folks, because then we'll be very, very upset. Wayne Gallman, we're going to give you a C. 8 carries for 31 yards, 3.9 yards per carry. The thing with Wayne Gallman, the former Clemson Tiger, is I don't know if he did enough to solidify himself as the backup to one Saquon, the GOAT, Barkley. But then again, I don't think anyone else has done enough to be the backup to Saquon Barkley. So it seems like by default, the former Clemson Tiger is going to be the backup running back to the New York Giants. Look, he's shown spurts of, let me say goodness, not greatness. But Wayne Gallman, all you need to do is come in for 3-4 carries a game, maybe a couple passes out the backfield. Whenever Saquon needs a breather, the Giants are going to run Saquon Barkley to the ground because it's really all they have offensively. Is a major key for the New York Giants' success. Another major key for the New York Giants is one Evan Engram, the former first-round pick out of Ole Miss, the tight end, sort of that new hybrid tight end. I'm going to give him a B-, and the reason why I'm going to give him a B- is I know he made 1 catch for 9 yards. I understand that. In his career, he has 109 catches, almost 1,300 yards, and 9 touchdowns. It was nice to see you out there, Evan Engram. Made your preseason debut, and you are going to be a very big factor for the New York Giants. Evan Engram needs to hit that ceiling that everyone has been projecting him in fantasy leagues and all talking points when it comes to tight ends. It seems like Evan Engram is always that guy that sort of like George Kittle did last year. If you remember last year, George Kittle, a lot of people were projecting him to be that next guy to enter that top tier of the Zach Ertz and the Greg Olsons. I know he's fallen off a bit. And Travis Kelce's of the world. This is what Evan Engram needs to do this year. He needs to take that next step, especially with him being heavily relied on, especially in that first month of the season, right? Games against Dallas and the Redskins and the Buffalo Bills. You need to step up, especially with Golden Tate, that big free agent acquisition not being there. So Evan Engram, B-. It was nice to see you out there, sir. Another B- we're going to give is to the offensive line for the New York Giants. The 5 starters gave up a sack, and they couldn't get much going in the running game. And as a whole, they did play okay. They played all right. But a couple of rough games, back-to-back games for one, Will Hernandez and for Nate Solder. Nate Solder gave up a sack last night against the Cincinnati Bengals, and Hernandez went up against all-pro defensive tackle Geno Atkins, and it was a tremendous test for the second-year guard, but he kind of got exposed. Like, not for nothing, Geno Atkins is a beast, and Will Hernandez committed 3 penalties, and he basically was being ragdolled by Geno Atkins. With all that being said, for as bad as the Bengals are going to be, in 2019, the one place they're not going to be bad is at the defensive line. So the Giants' offensive line got a great test against the team's strongest unit being their defensive line. So that's what I have for the offensive side of the New York Giants. Let's pivot over to the defensive side. But before we do, make sure you are a subscriber to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Defense, overall defense, we're going to give it a C-. And it's going to start off hot, but it's going to get pretty bad. Josiah Taufia, A+, baby. The Texas at San Antonio rookie linebacker desperately needing help at linebacker are what the New York Giants need, and he might be it. Who knows? This is a guy who is a borderline make or not make 53-man roster guy. And look, he had 8 tackles and a sack, right? 6 solo tackles for the former TSA linebacker. And look, this was a big performance for a guy who might not make the team. And also, you got to remember, these guys that don't make the roster that they're on initially going into training camp, this is also putting a highlight tape together to present with your agent to other organizations across the league, right? It could be for practice squad. It could be for just other teams anywhere. You want to get a job. It might not be with your current team, but this is also building your resume. And I think Josiah getting an A+ from me is going to help him. Another guy who's going to get an A+ is the Old Dominion 3rd-round pick for the New York Giants, the X-Man, baby, O'Shane Jimenez. I got to work on these names, folks, I understand, but he doesn't need to work on his pass rush because he got 2 sacks last game. The Giants desperately need pass rushers on the side. They no longer have Olivier Vernon. Wynn was on the Bengals in that last game, so that's another guy that they lost. You know, and over the years, the Giants' defensive line has become weak at edge rusher, and that was a position that really helped the Giants win all those Super Bowls earlier this decade. So I think with the week 1 performance of the defensive line getting no pressures and no hits on Sam Darnold and the Jets quarterback, this was nice to see. So the X-Man, you're going to get an A+ from me. Now we're going to get a little aggressive. The former Nittany Lion, Nate Stupar. Shout out to James Yoda. I'm sure he's not a fan of the Nittany Lions being a former Wolverine. But we're going to give him an F. Missed 4 tackles. 3 of them were gimme tackles. Nothing too crazy. And yes, 4 tackles. He made exactly 0. Terrible performance for a guy who's fighting for a roster spot. Again, when you are fighting for a roster spot, you need to make yourself stand out. He's standing out for the wrong reasons. And it's not a good look for a guy that is fighting for one of those last 53 spots. So F for Nate Stupar. A B to one Dexter Lawrence. Big Dex. Batted a ball down at the defensive line. Played the most snaps that he's played in the preseason up to date. Big run stuffing defensive lineman. And he takes on multiple blockers. If you watch him on tape, he stands out because he commands a lot of attention from offensive linemen and fullbacks and running backs having to chip on him. So Dexter Lawrence, B+, B, I should say, excuse me. Big Dex out of Clemson was exactly what we needed to see. Now, James Yoder is not going to like this one. The former Wolverine, Jabril Peppers, we're giving that boy a D because he gave up a big touchdown to C.J. Uzomah. Not for nothing, C.J. Uzomah. You're not even Tyler Eifert, who Tyler Eifert's probably a third-tier tight end. But this is, again, going to be a position where if you're a daily fantasy player, or if you're streaming tight ends in your fantasy league, folks, play tight ends against the New York Giants. I'm 28. My whole life, they can never stop a tight end. And it seems like it's going to continue. So, the Giants have been so bad at tight end. Jabril Peppers did not help that situation changing. So, Jabril Peppers, please, for the love of the football gods, can we get someone to guard a tight end? Because there's a lot of good ones that the Giants need to be playing, especially 2 games against Zach Ertz every single season going forward. And, of course, Jason Witten coming off the couch, he's probably going to have 8 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. Put that in your Cowboys report. You know what I'm saying? So, I want you guys to weigh in the comments below as we talk about the defense and we conclude here with the defense. What's the best unit defensively for the New York Giants? Is it the defensive line? Is it the linebackers? Is it the cornerbacks? Me personally, you have an all-pro with Janoris Jenkins. You got Corey Ballantyne who's balling out. You spent a high draft pick on DeAndre Baker. You get a couple guys in the secondary. I think that's the strength of the New York Giants, which is something that you can't say in the past. So it is a little bit of a transition period for the New York Giants defensively. Last but not least, we got to show love to the specialists, because specialists are kickers too. Rosas, we're going to give you a B. And look, you made your only field goal from 41 yards out, 2 for 2 on PATs, but it seems like in the preseason, teams don't really care about kicking, and rightfully so. You want to experiment, right? Twice the Giants passed up on 4th and short yardage situations. Kicking give me field goals because Rosas, Pro Bowl kicker last year, figured he can make chip shots. They went for it. So we'll give him a B. Always remember, folks, kickers are football players too. Townsend, the punter, B-, had 3 punts along of 51 yards, and he had a touchback. And Brittain Golden, the returner, because this is factored into specialists as well, we're going to give him a C. And I know you guys are saying, yo, Lamb, chill, man. He just returned a kick to the house, 68-yard punt return. But the very next punt, he muffled it, and he lost the football. And again, going back to Nate Stupar, guys that are trying to make a roster, you cannot have one highlight moment and then come crashing down. It's just not going to be enough. You need to be consistent, and it needs to only be up. If this is you being consistent, you need to only go up. You should never descend from that. So I want you guys, let's have a little fun with this one. Weigh it in the comments below. Let us know. Are kickers football players too? At The Lamb Show is where you can find me. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give this video a thumbs up. And we'll catch you next time with the New York Giants Report.